to the National REIA hosting an update today on the COVID-19. We hope that everyone is being safe and healthy. Today we're going to have Charles Tassel, our COO and Director of Legislative Affairs, as well as Kevin Coughlin. They're going to be giving you guys some updates, legislative updates on the situation. And then we're also going to be joined today by our friends and partners at Home Depot, Brian Aguirre and Randall Ray. So you guys will be able to ask them some questions as well as we see the developments, which is the second week of sequestering that we're in now. So I'm Ryan Kuhlman. I'm the president of National Real Estate Investors Association. So welcome everyone. And I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Rebecca McLean.
Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Welcome back. If you've been with us before, we're going to go over a couple things that, for those of you that have been with us before, that you've seen, but many of you have not. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank Home Depot and Home Depot Pro for being our sponsors. This broadcast is sponsored by them, as well as many of our ongoing updates. They have a really great program with us. They have a special program for investors. It includes discounts like 20% off paint, rebates, and other National REIA exclusive programs. If you have questions about that program, please contact someone in your local group or reach out to someone here at National REIA. We'd love to tell you more. You're going to hear some really great things that they are offering to help keep you in business during this time, and you may have questions about that. Please don't hesitate to reach out. National REIA is a nonprofit trade association, and our mission is to promote real estate investing, protect the industry, and educate people on how to profit within the industry. We are very proud to represent 40,000 members across the U.S. We have local groups in over 120 locations, and we are proud to be here to serve you. That being said, we want to thank you so much for being a member of your local group. It's now more important than ever to stay connected to each other and to your locals. So support that local group, stay connected to the local group. They're doing a great job at keeping you informed. We're trying to do as much as we can from the federal aspect, and we're leaning on our local groups, as I'm sure you are as well, to keep you informed about local happenings. So thank you so much for being a member, and we will be here to support you. We have ongoing updates on Fridays as this one. Those will continue as long as we have information that you need. We'll be here for you. You can find information on the National REIA website. We have our voters' voice, where as things come down the pike that we need to give voice to our industry and talk to our congressmen and congresswomen, we'll send that out through Voters Voice so you can actually correspond with them. RealEstateInvestingToday.com is our news site that is always up and running 5 days a week. There are new posts there to keep you informed. The weekly roundup is an email summary of those daily postings, and you can subscribe to those on our website. We also have ongoing update emails for anything during this COVID time that's urgent. You will get those in an updated email, as well as seeing them on the website. These are our virtual meetings, and then we have ongoing communications that are print publications that will continue during this time: the Real Estate Journal, ROI Magazine, and REIA Now. There's much, much more, and if you're a member of your local group, you can have those available to you. If you're not a member of your local group, if you go to nationalreia.com and you see the button Find a Local Group, you'll be directed to a map of the U.S., and you can find a group in your area. For this time, for any of the federal updates, you can see here we have the button for COVID-19 updates. We actually update this on a daily basis right now. As soon as we get new information, it goes to the COVID-19 update area. If there are discussion items and things where people are donating their forms or their communications that they're having with either the media or with their residents, or even in some cases with their lenders. All of that is actually happening on unitinginvestors.com. Lori will be putting all of these links into the chat bar as we go through the session today, so you'll know where to find them. Our recording of these events also appear there as well. And the PowerPoints, I guess, they'll come out as PDFs specifically, will also be emailed to you from this webinar, will be emailed to you if you have registered. Today specifically, many of you are on to talk about the CARES program and the relief efforts going on under that act, and much of that happens under the SBA loan resources. We have specifically taken that link to the top of the page. If you'll notice, our page changes as the topics change, and things that we think that you're most interested in, we're trying to put at the top. So specifically now, the hottest topic is the SBA loan resources. You'll see that that has moved to the top of the page here with the green arrow. Please visit there for all of the links. And then you'll see at the bottom of the page, we also have specifics that are downloadable resources and ongoing communications. We also have articles that we try to make sure are from verified sources and reliable sources, keeping you updated on articles and happenings. Today, we're going to be talking about mostly the CARES Act. This appears on Real Estate Investing Today as our infographic of the day, since it's Friday, but this gives you just a quick overview of how much money was allocated and where that money is being spent. So you can see that much of that is going to individuals where they're coming in cash payments and extra unemployment payments. We certainly hope that that will help for rent payments and things that we were relying on for businesses. You have a portion going to large corporations, and then you have quite a bit here coming to small businesses. And this is what our group is going to talk about today, is how we can take part in those funds. Let me just say though really quickly, we do have a disclaimer. We are not tax professionals. We are not legal professionals. We are giving you the best information possible and then pointing you to resources. If you need very specific advice, please make sure that you see a professional in your area that knows you and your business specifically, whether that is an attorney or in this case, possibly a CPA. So please make sure you see the appropriate professional as we go forward to make sure that your needs are met. I'm going to hand off now to Kevin Coughlin and to Charles Tassel so they can talk specifically about the CARES Act, what that means to small businesses and to very specifically real estate investors. Welcome, Kevin, and thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thanks. Let me switch the screen. I'm going to share my do that. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that just fine. So I'm going to do just a quick run through. I know that everybody is getting all kinds of information. This may be the 15th webinar or conference call that you've done to try to get updated on what's happening. And it's important to continue to do that for a couple of reasons. One, Congress has passed a couple decades worth of policy in a very short period of time. And when they do that, they don't fill in all the details. So then it's left to the agencies, and in this case, the SBA lending institutions, to figure out how to do it. That usually takes months. It can't take months now, so it's happening as we speak. And so hour by hour, there are little changes on who's eligible, what the timelines are, and all of that, and when the loan applications are going to be made available for different types of people and businesses. So there will be changes to what I show you here, and we'll continue to update you on those changes as we get them. The CARES Act basically has a couple goals in mind, and that is to ensure that businesses are able to continue to pay their working capital. and their ongoing operations. And also for those that have employees, that you're able to keep your employees working at the same level that they were working at the end of January. And they have created a number of options that are available to all kinds of businesses. Typically in the past, when we've had disasters, whether it was a natural disaster or an economic disaster, only businesses that had W-2 payroll were included. And those of us who are out on our own, who are self-employed, who are contractors, who are sole proprietors, were left holding the bag or going to the unemployment bureaus in our states. That is one of the changes in this regard with specifically to COVID-19 response, in that all of those are included in one way or another. And so there are options for all types of businesses and all types of individuals who conduct business. And it's a question of figuring out which one is right for you based on your size, employees that you have, if any, what your operating expenses are, whether you want to commit to a low interest, longer term loan, whether you want to, and you qualify for something that allows you to keep your employees in place and get some forgiveness on the loan, if not all forgiveness, depending on how the size of your business and how you react, or if you have other needs. So I'm going to just quickly go through a few things that that Congress has done in the CARES Act, specifically with the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL, as well as the Express loan under 7A. For those of you that have dealt with the Small Business Administration in the past, you know that there have been 9 loans available. I'm not going to talk about all 9 of them. I'm going to talk about 3 of them because they're the 3 that either were created or enhanced by the CARES Act. You should also know that the CARES Act, just like the 2008 financial crisis, made some provisions that allow people to borrow from their retirement vehicles and repay, I believe, within 3 years without penalty. You should consult with your accountant and your retirement, your IRA experts on that for your options there if you're looking to do something like that. And if you currently have an SBA loan, they're putting a pause on that for the next 6 months. The EIDL loan. This is an existing loan, but it's been enhanced. In the past, businesses could borrow up to $350,000, but with the CARES Act now, it can be up to $2 million based on the size of business. Probably not going to impact a whole lot of us or a lot of the investor community, but it is important to note that exactly what it is. It's a 3.7% rate for small businesses of all types. There's repayment of up to 3 years. The repayment terms are up to 30 years, so it's a long-term loan. This is used to pay your fixed debts, your payroll if you have any, all your accounts payable, mortgages, rents, expenses that can't be billed because of the disaster's impact. And you should note specifically for investors that lost rents is one of the factors that is included in determining your loss. The first 1 million people that apply for this are eligible can ask for a grant, and the grant is based on the size of your business, but it's up to $10,000. The way it works is the SBA gets the request, they send that over to the Department of Treasury, and the Treasury will distribute those funds. That's all supposed to happen in 3 days. I don't know if it has been happening yet, but I'm sure they're figuring out a way to expedite that process. The advantage to that is that it gets money in your hands right away. Again, it is based on size of your company. So not many, mom and pop investors are going to get a $10,000 grant, but you'll get something at least to get started while you're waiting for the whole application process to work its way through. This is a grant. It does not need to be repaid. It is not part of the loan. So, and if you are denied the loan, or you decide that you don't want to go with this loan, you want to convert to do an application for another loan, you keep the money, you keep the grant that you got. So that has been available to businesses. That has been available, I believe, since the beginning of this week. And again, the first 1 million applicants are the ones who are going to get the grant. And I heard a number yesterday of where they were in applications. It wasn't anywhere near that. However, it's going to catch on. So people are probably next week are really going to be hitting that application very hard. Unlike other SBA loans, which are done through a lending institution, this one is done directly to the SBA online, and I've provided a link there, which will be on the PDF when you get it. The process takes about 2 hours, assuming you've got your information at hand. However, there is a express part at the beginning of it. Basically, I want the grant or I don't want the grant. That takes about 5 minutes. Paycheck Protection Program. A lot of talk, a lot of questions about this one. This is a new program that is designed to, if you have employees, if you are a business that has employees, it is designed to ensure that by, I believe, June 30th, I think is the date, that you have them back in place, working at the same wage, at the same salary that they were working before. And you will be forgiven the amount that you borrow to do that for each of those employees that you, so if you bring back 100% of your employees, and in the case of small businesses where you're the only one, that's pretty easy to do. But if you bring them all back, then you get full forgiveness. If you only bring half of them back, you get half forgiveness, and so on. The repayment for this one is going to be 10 years for anything that's left over after forgiveness. It's a 4% rate. I believe that the SBA set a rate of 0, but of course the banks have the ability to do what they want, and the ceiling is 4. No personal guarantee, no collateral required. The allowable uses for this are payroll costs, employee salaries, mortgage payments, rents, utilities, interest on your debts that you had before the crisis struck. This is something that's changing by the hour. The SBA lending institutions were all supposed to make this available today. Some have said they're not going to do it till next week. I believe Bank of America is open for business on this for people who currently have a relationship with them. But a lot of the bigger banks have said we just can't pull this together until Monday. So keep watching that. That may change. But I do know that they were already planning on delaying the start of it for sole proprietors, self-employed, and contractors until April 10. So sometime next week, the rest of us will be able to begin applying for that. It's supposed to be a 2-week turnaround. Because it's a lending institution loan, each one is going to have their own application, so there may be slight variations on it. But in order to help you be able to prepare and expect what they're going to ask for, I've put the SBA's template on here. They did put together a standard application for this program for the banks to model their application on. That should tell you what you're going to need. The loan forgiveness, I don't know how much I need to talk about this with this group, but I will, just in case anybody's wondering how it works. The amount of the forgiveness is reduced. Okay, well, I already said that if you don't bring back everybody, then it's proportional. I don't need to go over that. If anybody's pay, including yours, and if you're the only employee and your salary exceeds $100,000, you're only going to have up to $100,000 count. So any compensation over $100,000 per person is not going to be factored in. Whatever is forgiven by the SBA in this program is not going to be taxable income in 2020. I include this loan in here for two reasons. One, this is the SBA 7A Express loan. There's two reasons I put it in. One, Congress changed the amount that is in there, but also because one of the allowable uses is something that you can't do with a lot of the other things, and that is purchase real estate. So if you were, in the middle of something and it got tied up, this could be a vehicle that you could use to purchase real estate. You can also purchase equipment, including vehicles. You can establish or acquire a business with it, and a lot of other things that you can't do with the things that are designed specifically for payroll and compensation. So it is one that the reason it's called an express loan because it doesn't take very long to apply for it or get it. It's a quick decision, and that is also done through the SBA lenders. I don't need to talk about that. So what I put together here is a page with the information that you're going to need to have available if you're applying for any of these SBA disaster loans. In general, this is what you're going to need. And when you get the PDF, if you look at it electronically, the links to the SBA forms are links that will click and take you right to them.
Kevin, I think maybe you're not, if you're advancing slides, they're not showing advancing. So
really,
we're keeping up with you.
Sharing is paused. Interesting. What slide are you all seeing?
One. Thinking you were doing an overview and then realized that maybe that wasn't the case. Now, letting everybody know that you will be getting his PDF that have these on it.
Well, I'm not going to repeat it all.
No, we're not. But there will be a PDF that comes out afterwards that goes through what he's talked about. But I just wanted to, as we're getting to this piece specifically where you're showing what they need to have available, I wanted to make sure that we were on screen with you. So we are now seeing screen 2 for you.
Okay. Is it advancing now?
We're at 3.
Okay, good. How do I get this thing off? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I won't go back through those. I hope that you'll forgive me on that. But here's the list of the information that you need. And I mentioned these links to the SBA forms. They'll take you directly to them. The most important thing is you're going to need all of your P&L statements. If you don't have those, and payroll, if you don't do payroll, you're going to need your Schedule Cs. You're going to need your tax reports for last year. You're also going to need your financial statements for the beginning of this year because they're going to need to compare, see that you were an operating business when the crisis struck, and then you'll see all the other the other things that I don't want to run through those. You can read them when we send that out. So my recommendation is, first of all, obviously determine if any of these programs are right for you. Honestly, some people, depending on their size and where they are, may look at the EIDL loan, or they may look at the PPP and say, you know what, I'm going to get a better deal if I go and I file for unemployment. You need to look at that, and you need to factor that in with your accountant or whoever you talk to about your business affairs. Obviously, I already mentioned what you need to pull together. If you were going to go forward with any of these, one thing I would do is I would probably look mostly at the EIDL loan. It seems to be a quick turnaround. It can be used for the same things that the PPP can be used for. The only difference is there's no forgiveness. It is a low interest loan. There's no guarantee there won't be forgiveness. Congress could always come back and say, well, you know what, we're going to forgive these people. But the advantage to that particular loan is that you do get a little bit of money in your pocket right now quickly to deal with if you're in a pinch. And if you don't want it or you don't get it, you can change your strategy and go in a different direction and keep that money.
Kevin, let's talk about that one real quick, because that 10 grand that 10 grand advance grant can be filed for with each LLC. So to those of you who have multiple LLCs, again, needing them, justifying it, but that may be an opportunity. If you have multiple LLCs, this is an opportunity to go in, apply for it. It's a link. You go in, fill out the paperwork. It takes 5-10 minutes or so.
Yes.
Didn't take too long for me when I filled out my 3. So, just a start. But again, if you don't need the funds, you don't want to apply for them. I've got 2 others we didn't apply for. So just keep that in mind, folks.
Thank you, Charles. On the PPP loan, if it turns out that you feel that this is the one for you, I would say this. I'm just assuming that most everybody out here on this call is in the sole proprietor, self-employed category. So there's $350 billion allocated for this. Once it's gone, supposedly it's gone. So what I would do is, rather than wait until they open it up, if you really, if you've decided this is the one, you can apply for a standard 7A loan at your SBA lender. And then you can tell them when you apply that when the PPP loan becomes available for you to be able to apply to it, you want to convert to that. That just gets the process going. It gets the information that you have to collect into your lender and into their computers, so it's all loaded up and ready to go. That's just a little bit of a time-saving strategy to get your place in line when it opens up. And finally, I mentioned under the 7A Express that property acquisition, that was an allowable use of that loan. There are other SBA loans that allow you to do that were not changed by the CARES Act. So, and I didn't talk about them today, but if you have a relationship with your institution, if you have an SBA officer you talk to, or you want to reach out and establish that relationship, you could always ask them about that and see what those options are. If that's something that you have a need for and you're stuck because of what's going on, those programs can be helpful to you. I'm going to turn it back to Charles.
Actually, I'm going to ask you to go back a couple of slides, the PPL one or PPP one real quick. And there was a question. Nope, one more or something.
EIDL, PPP, loan forgiveness.
There we go, PPP. So on this one, where's the one there it is. Independent contractor is crossed out of there. Let's just touch on that real quickly. And folks, the idea behind these modifications to the SBA program is, I want you to understand the spirit of the law, and then you'll understand better why they did what they did. The goal is to get cash into the hands of 2 groups of people specifically. One is employees, and that's part of what PPP is for. And the idea is, rather than paying them because they go out of your business, they go over to unemployment and they get paid in the unemployment line, the idea is keep them in your business. Then your business is maybe down for 8 weeks, but ideally you're back up at the end of 8 weeks and going. And they're there, they're still employed technically, and the funds are there to take care of it. The small business side with the EIDL loan and even the grant is to get money out there right away. Some folks have been impacted by this since early March. And, especially if you've got smaller margins, if you're in a tighter situation, you could be, going under already. So the idea with the EIDL is to get that 10 grand out there initially right to this company, and then additional money above and beyond that. For some folks, I talked to a couple of folks yesterday, and they're like, 10 grand doesn't scratch the surface. They're looking at $500,000, million, $2 million, $4 million. Those are the kinds of loans that, great. They're like, I'm not going to touch the 10. I need the 4 million. I need it expedited. So these programs are here with the philosophy and the spirit of the law being, how do we push funds into small businesses, which is so anything under 500 people, or how do I get it into employees' hands and help the businesses do that? That's the goal of what this is. So if you understand it going in that way, that can help you process how this looks. Like, what do I need to come up for from a business perspective, or how do I need to apply for something? Keeping that in mind may help. Rebecca, I think there were some questions that came up.
There's several questions, so let me just kind of roll through them one by one at this point. Just to clarify, if they take advantage of the grant is forgivable and does not require payback.
Correct.
For those who filled out the EIDL application and it did not ask them at the time of application if they wanted a grant, what's the process? Do they just go back now and ask again?
What date is that a live question?
It was
So there were people who applied at the beginning of the week, and the SBA realized that this was going to be a thing and they were going to need to make this faster. So what they did was they created a different application with a new link, and they actually told people, if you have already applied for the SBA and you didn't ask for the thing, go back to this new link, which is what I've provided on that page right there. It will ask you that question when you start the application. And so they're telling you to go back and do that portion again.
okay. So that will be sent out, guys, then in the packet that PDF that we send you from Kevin's presentation. Also, as we said, for 1099 employees and independent contractor and all of those sorts of things, that will not be addressed until April 10th. Is that accurate? And can you just...
That's the target. Now that could change. I mean, banks could come up and say, oh, no, you know, we're ready to go. But so what is that, the end of next week?
Yeah, next Friday.
We'll keep you updated if that changes.
Okay. Someone asked about if it's being offered through credit unions, and a couple of other people answered them and said in their area, yes, there are credit unions that are participating in this. Another question that has come up a couple times is, what if I am applying for this and I'm applying for relief for lost rents? I, have renters that aren't paying because of COVID or whatever my lost rents are. I don't know yet what I'm going to lose in rents. April maybe hasn't been that bad. May I expect to be worse. How do I make a judgment on that question and that item?
If I can suggest this, is look at a worst case scenario, ask for that, and then you can scroll, you can always go backwards and shrink down. But if you only ask for set amount, there's only, correct me on my number here, Kevin, $379 million or $1 billion set aside for this. So this money is going to go quick. If you are not in there with some amount of funds already scheduled and set aside for you, you're not going to be part of it. Technically, you can apply up until the end of December. If you are not in the early request, there's not going to be money there. And, who knows if Congress is going to come back and say, well, these people who applied later, we're going to give them some. It's hard to say if that would happen. So think worst case scenario, lay out your numbers on why you think that, and get it in there.
I would assume, though, Charles, that it would need to be on units that are currently inhabited, that they can't, just say I've got this many doors and I'm applying for this many doors. If you don't have a lease or a resident in there, probably not going to be verifiable. Don't know.
Yeah.
I would, for that particular part of it, I'd ask a CPA just in case. Okay. Also, new hires. So under the PPP program or any of these other loan programs, is there a place where I may not have had an employee, I was looking for one, have not had that outlay of cash yet, so I'm not going to have a 941 to show? Is there a place where that can be considered in these programs?
I'm gonna write that one down and get a written response back through you, if that's all right.
Next question: can you receive both the PPP and the EIDL? No, cannot. Which also begs the question: can I get unemployment as an individual and an EIDL within the same business, if I'm an employee of my business. Do we also need to research that as well?
Well, that's one of those unanswered questions because it's two different systems. You know, unemployment is state by state. But I think the intention on the federal side is to say no. That if you are a sole proprietor or, you know, self-employed, and basically they're taking your Schedule C and they're looking at your net profit from last year and saying that's your income, and they're dividing that by 12, and they're basing the calculation of you know, based on the multiplier of that, right? Okay. So I think what they're telling you is look at that, figure out what that is, bump that up against what you will be able to get for unemployment in your state, and choose. Right?
Yep. So can we address something? There's a question that's being asked, and it's being asked in different ways, and the answers change depending on what is asked. Okay. And the question is on PPP and the EIDL loan, can you apply for both of them? Yes, you can. Can you receive both of them? No, you cannot. What you can do is receive the $10,000 upfront from the EIDL loan upfront. And then if you say, you know what, actually, I'm going to need the PPP, I'm going to need a larger amount, what they will then do is put that $10,000 that you got from the EIDL onto the backside of the PPP, and then that's your amount to work with in the PPP. So what they do is basically erase the EIDL, add the 10,000 over to the PPP, and go forward. So are you applying for both of them? Yes. Can you get both of them? The short answer is no. You may get the EIDL initially, but then you say, I want to put the EIDL that I received over on the PPP and move forward with that and wipe out my EIDL.
Let me complicate that answer. Not with these two loans, but let's say hypothetically you have an existing 7A Express loan that you've been using for property acquisition. You could go get one of these other loans for your payroll or your ongoing operational expenses. You just can't use them for the same purpose. So you couldn't use those two loans for the same purpose, but you can, if you already have one, have two SBA loans. But they cannot be used for the same thing. Can't double dip.
That's it.
Okay. There are a lot of pretty specific questions that are coming up. Many of those I'm going to ask. There's one, for example, on multiple LLCs, doing business with other LLCs. That I'm going to tell you that you really need to talk to a CPA for that. Also,
And in the application process, Rebecca, and that if LLCs are owning another LLC, one of the questions in there is very specific. Is this owned by an LLC or an entity, a business entity, or is it owned by an individual? And it will ask those questions very specifically. So you can get in some of that detail even in your application. So it seems predisposed, ready to answer those kind of questions, but whether you want to or not is a different question.
and just to reiterate, the express piece does not take the 2-hour application, right? It's the check mark that you do at the front of the application. You can stop at that point, right? And not have to go through the rest of it, or do you have to go through the rest of it?
No, you have to submit a completed application to be considered for the grant part.
So you have to go through the full application, even for the express piece.
Yes, your application does not, Charles, you've gone through it. Is that your impression? Because you can be denied the loan and still keep the grant. You can be given approved for the loan and not accept it and keep the grant, but you have to put in an application for the loan.
Right. So the application, the ones I did even last night and this morning, literally were 15 to 20 minutes of time because I had my EINs, I had my paperwork already ready. filled it out, clicked it. It says, do you want, and the link's up there, I think. Do you want the $10,000 grant? Yes, I do. Click on that. Put in your bank account and your routing number. Sign that you're not committing perjury. Sign and submit. And that was it. And I'm like waiting for the next set of documents thinking, okay, I guess they're going to be following up with me. It was not 2 hours by any stretch. So I'm not
That's
sure
good to hear. I mean, that's what the SBA is putting up for people. I think obviously they're worst case scenario.
Right.
So just to you did say this, but one more time, which of the loans is used where is allowed to be used to purchase property right now?
The 7A Express loan, which will be through your SBA lender. But if you inquire about that, also ask them about the other vehicles that the SBA has that allows you to do the same thing. And they will give you a recommendation when they look at your application or they look at your info, which one's best for you.
There was a question about if I had heard back. The answer is I have not heard back because I literally just filed last night and this morning, and they have 3 days to do this. You'll hear the woohoo when I do.
Also, for wholesalers, they do not have W-2 employees, and they need operating capital. Are any of these loans available for them for their operating and marketing capital?
And say that's going to be back to the EIDL loan then, correct, Kevin? That's going to be their business operations at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, yes.
Do you want to move to?
You could use the PPP for the same thing, and you could just count yourself. I assume they're paying themselves, right?
No, they're talking about they have a team that is commission based, and they sell on a contract.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, you can't claim them, or you can't. Right. So probably the EIDL is the best route for that.
Can we go to the summary page you have near the end there, Kevin? Okay. I think this is going to be helpful for folks. So businesses need to have been together. And notice the second line there, folks. It says put together your payroll expenses and P&L statements for the last 12 months. They're going to be looking at average expenses and average costs. And that's what you're going to be looking at for funds coming in. They want to know those kind of what's your operating expenses. So if you haven't been in business, it's going to be difficult to prove that. It's going to be difficult to say, here's how much money I need, here's how much I can get if you haven't been in business. They're looking for income and expenses in those. So know that going in.
Hey, Charles, maybe this would be helpful, and without getting too deep into your business, you obviously have made a decision which direction to go, and you decided that the EIDL, unless, I don't know if maybe you just applied for it to get the quick injection, but all right. So stop me there if that's the answer.
That's the answer.
Okay.
Okay, so, boy, lots of questions. The vehicle that allowed you to take a loan from your IRA that we talked about earlier is being questioned?
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to give much advice on that because that's something you've got to talk with your advisor about. But what they did in the CARES Act was basically said that you could borrow up to, and Charles, you have to refresh me on the amount.
I believe it was $100,000.
Okay, and it's you can pay it back within 3 years without penalty.
Correct. And then the other,
is that per retirement vehicle?
You know, it was not specific, and any of the language I've seen is not specific along those lines.
Okay. Hopefully your accountant or your IRA expert will have this information, but we've been focusing on the loan program so much, I haven't really looked at that.
So
also, we will be having John Bowen from Equity on a call. I don't know if we can get him as early as next week, but we have been promised no later than 2 weeks to talk about all of this effect on IRAs, whether you've borrowed out of an IRA or are now having challenges paying your lending, or the effect of the CARES Act in general. All of that will be covered in our upcoming webinar with John as a guest. So stay tuned for that on the specifics. Also, as we talked about, for for contractors, for independent contractors and such, April 10th. What about sole proprietors in terms of that? Does that fall under that category, or are we in a different category for that?
can you repeat that again, Rebecca? I didn't hear you all the way.
So we know that we're delayed for independent contractors.
Yes.
What about sole proprietors?
That's part of the same group. April 10th is what we're expecting for that.
Okay. Okay. So any of these that are very, very specific questions, we're asking you to turn to your CPA. One, we don't know all of the intricacies of this yet. Some of it is spelled out in generalities and has not been tested yet. So I would be hesitant to answer very specific questions, as honestly, those aren't necessarily addressed. And we're going to need a moment to have clarification on those. If you want to, though, apply immediately, and you should, as soon as possible, and you need that clarification, please reach out to your CPA to get that clarification for your specific business. Kevin's presentation will be emailed out. This recording will also be online, and all of the SBA specific information has been posted, will continue to be updated, and the FAQ from us about this will also continue to be updated. Please give us a couple days on that. We're going to go with the information that we have and post it directly from the SBA now, but then we will do a kind of follow-up in that FAQ as time goes on. But the recording will be up as soon as it renders, knowing that videos take a bit to render. The SBA information is already up, and give us till Monday or Tuesday for the rest of the FAQs. As we get the information, we will get that to you. And again, Kevin's slides will go out or be posted at the end of this. It'll go with the recording from there. Okay, yes.
One thing, Rebecca, just a quick clarification. Somebody's asking about applying. The 7A loan and the PPP have to go through a bank. The EIDL loan can be done directly online. Okay, so you can apply for that EIDL loan tonight. All right. The other two, you've got to find a bank that's going to do the SBA and go through that. There's not an easy answer for that. Call around, go talk to the banks. A lot of people have stay-at-home in place right now. So you're going to want to set up a schedule appointment with the bank and work with them. I saw a note on there that somebody said, this bank wouldn't talk to me unless I moved all my business to them. You know, not that you're necessarily going to get through, but it might not hurt to call the SBA as well and let them know that you're having difficulties and where could you go. They may be able to recommend somebody, and they may be very interested in that kind of a response from a bank.
Well, I guess I should also add, especially for those of you who do Schedule C and are going to need that. I know the IRS has pushed back the filing our tax date for 3 months, but you know, if you can do it in the next week, it might be helpful to have that, because then you'll have your that information for 2019 readily available.
And actually, the one thing,
especially if your books aren't very good.
and many investors are not. That's a whole another session that we could do, but not today. Also, kind of along the same lines, we did not address it directly, kind of, we went around it. But for those who are participating with Airbnbs, who, so with the PPP, if you're a rental owner and are being passive and farm that out, you have no employees necessarily, so that's not going to work. But what do I do if I am an Airbnb owner? Is that something I'm looking at the EIDL for and moving forward that way?
That seems to be the most attractive one for that purpose, yes.
Okay. And also for those that have filed late on their taxes, is this going to be a problem now, as those tax returns are going to probably be required by the SBA?
Well, I haven't been through the process. My guess is they're going to work with you because, well, look, the banks are all approaching this differently, I guess, but the spirit of at least what's been done at the federal level is we need to get money out there in the hands of business to keep it rolling and to make people as whole as we can. And so the goal is to get this money out. So I think that they'll work with people that have at least a paper trail and financial statements that give something to go on. What will hold you up will be liens, particularly federal. So if you get it, if you have those and you intend to go for these things, clean those up. Okay,
terrific. I really appreciate Kevin and Charles today for that. We'll get that information out to you. And thank you for all your questions. We'll try to make sure that it'll be covered in the FAQ or what's already online from the SBA specifically. And again, some people came on late. This recording will be available. While we're talking about money for your business and for ways to stay in business and to keep moving forward, we asked the Home Depot to come on today because so many of you had questions about being a rehabber. One of the questions is it an essential business? And in most states, housing in general and preparing housing for people is an essential business. Not in all states necessarily. Please make sure that you consult your state and local guidelines on that. But in most states, housing as an essential business does include rehabbing to prepare for people coming into homes. So if we know that rehabbing is an essential business and we want to keep moving forward, there's a couple questions that we have about how to best do that. One, back to dollars. So beyond what's available through the SBA, Home Depot has some solutions for that as well. And they're going to talk about that today. They're also going to talk about how to deal with the issue of kind of stay-at-home orders and talk about the fact that they are open in many locations, they're open in all locations with restricted hours, but still there for you to serve you. But they also have some other options in terms of a really great site that came out in perfect timing through the website to serve us during this time to make getting our materials easier. Also pick up in store options and delivery options. But I'm going to stop talking about that and let the professionals at Home Depot talk about it. So Brian, I'm going to let you get started and tell people how they can take advantage of some programs from the Home Depot to help with their ongoing costs. Brian, you are still muted. Can you?
Brian, are you able to click on the microphone icon in the bottom of the screen?
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Rebecca, Ryan, Charles, Kevin, fantastic information you have delivered here today. And we are going to be brief, bright, and gone and give you back your afternoons. But on behalf of the Home Depot and all of our associates, I just want to thank you, National REIA, and the valued pro customer for your business at this time and your partnership. I pray that you are in good health and good spirits, you and yours, And as Rebecca mentioned, my name is Brian Aguirre. I'm the National Account Manager for the Home Depot Pro and National REIA Partnership. In my role today, I support our partnership with National REIA and all of the local chapters that I hope you are a member of. If not, please reach out to your local chapter, as Rebecca mentioned earlier, to really support and be able to connect and learn more about the benefits that we'll briefly cover here today. Before I introduce Randall Ray, she is our Pro Experience Leader for the new online Pro B2B experience. I'm going to briefly just touch on a couple of things that I think are pressing to the current climate that we're in. So during this time at the Home Depot, we are focused on leaning into our company values. And one of those values is just taking care of our associates and our customers. And we want to make sure we add value to you during this crisis and during this time. I'm going to highlight 3 things that we're doing right now in our stores to better support you and just quickly touch on store hours. And then I'm also going to go into this credit slide. Home Depot essentially has a credit option out there that you may or may not be aware of. They give you 60 days to pay in full your invoices, and may be something that can help if you're needing to buy materials in the short term. So we right now are open throughout the country. We're being very mindful of the current circumstances of our associates and our customers. So we're really focused on social responsibility, and we are making sure our associates are checked, and if they're sick, they're staying home. We're implementing all types of processes in the stores to keep everyone safe. We are canceling all spring promotions to limit foot traffic into the stores, and we are focused on limiting 100 customers in store at a time to keep everyone safe. Our stores are massive, so they're 100,000 square feet approximately. We're using social responsible stations that allow you to wait in line. So it is a little bit of a tedious time here, and we understand that, but it's imperative that we continue to abide by that and serve you and your business and keep everyone safe during this time. Another thing that I'd like to update is I'm going to add a link here on this thread, and we will debrief this, but it's a link to get up-to-date information on what we're doing with COVID-19 and how we're best supporting all information about stores and our store hours and everything else. So I'm going to hand it over to Randall here in 1 second. Just the key thing to focus about on this slide is the commercial credit options we offer. We offer one account that allows you to pay in full in 60 days. That's the Home Depot commercial account. It does help build business credit, and it is something that I believe adds major value to your business. There's also a fuel reward option there as well. And there's also the business account that allows you to make minimum payments towards your business, along with so many other options and things we're here to support you with. And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Randall Ray, who's going to go over the Pro Online experience. Randall, take it away. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Brian. Can everybody hear me and see my screen?
Yes, we can hear you, Randall.
Perfect. So I am on the Home Depot Pro Customer Experience team, specifically dedicated to national accounts. I will be as brief as possible in the interest of time. But one of the ways we really want to help you guys make sure you're, utilizing those benefits through the National REIA Home Depot partnership is to make sure that you are properly enrolled. So you can go to homedepot.com/C/pro_extra, or you can text Pro Extra to 433-768 for a registration link. This will be part of the deck that Rebecca is going to send out, so you will have all of this information available to you. Briefly going through the steps on how to sign up, you will go to that homedepot.com website, create your account where you'll enter in all of your information, complete your registration, and then you're not done just you're not done just yet. You'll actually want to go to access your account profile to make sure that you add that agreement code that will be given to you as a National REIA member. So to access that, you'll go to the upper right-hand screen where it'll say hello, your name, the drop-down. And the third option is to access your account profile. From there, you'll scroll down and you'll enter your agreement code. When you're entering it, you want to make sure you check the box that says apply the code to all existing payment methods, and then click Save Changes and yes to apply. This is really important, and you can even go back to your cards and accounts page. Same thing, that drop down under your name. And you'll really want to make sure that that agreement code is associated with every single one of your credit cards, gift cards, checking accounts, anything you have, so all of your purchases are counted towards that rebate tier. You also have the option to upload bulk cards at the same time. Just going back, once you've already enrolled and your account is set up, anytime you want to access your account, just go to homedepot.com, both on the website and the homedepot.com app that is available on iOS and Android. You'll click My Account, sign in, and make sure you're entering your email address that's associated with your Pro Extra account. What we really wanted to focus on was all of the features that are available on the site to really help you leverage tools for better productivity, especially right now, whether it's buying online, picking up in store, curbside pickup, which is now available in select stores, creating lists, creating quotes. There are a ton of really great features here to help you. And we've put together a comprehensive guide of these features that are available on the Pro Extra website. So at a high level, you can add users to your account. You can create quick add items to your cart and to create lists. You can create quotes and export to QuickBooks. The rest of this presentation has very, very detailed step-by-step guides for each one of these tools. In addition to that, I really wanted to point out the features option. When you're on your Pro website, in the very, very upper left-hand corner, it says Explore Features. This is a really, really great link. Whether you've lost this deck, whether you're on the website and having issues, it will walk you through absolutely all of the steps for anything that you might be running into issues with. So I will turn it back over to Brian. We do hope to be able to provide more detailed training here in the next couple of weeks on some of the features and functionality of our website. And just wanted to say thank you all for participating and being here on this Friday evening.
Awesome. Randall, thank you for that takeaway there. Team, the local chapter leaders will have this debrief, and if you're a member, the chapters have all the information on how to take advantage of these programs. If you're not a member, we highly encourage you to become a member and support the local REIA and see all the values you get from there. I added my information to the chat. I've already been connected with some of you. If there's anything I can help with personally, directly, my phone number is there, my email is there. I will get back to you directly as soon as possible. That way we better communicate all the threads that are here, and then we are here to support you and are grateful for the partnership in your business. Thank you.
Just really
I'm going to pass it back to, yeah, go ahead, to Rebecca.
To go ahead and answer some of the questions that came up about the program.
Sure.
Rebate that we have, they ask if the 2% is available just on the Home Depot cards you mentioned in the beginning. And no, it includes any of the cards that you register. As Randall told you how to register those cards and to put the code on them, any card that you register is attached to that program. That also includes checking accounts. You can register checking accounts, you can register gift cards, you can register all of those things, and they all count within the program and will be eligible for that rebate. The only thing that is not eligible is cash right now, just because it's not trackable. So we suggest if you're going to use cash, the easiest way to do that is to buy a gift card with that cash So for example, if you were going to give one of your contractors or one of your maintenance individuals cash to purchase something, instead of doing that, you can buy a gift card, and that's what we do when we run into this situation. We buy a reloadable gift card, and then we register the gift card, and then that's what we give to that individual to use.
And if I could say one more thing really quickly too, you also want to make sure that you're not deleting any credit cards or accounts. And there is a way, even if a credit card is lost or stolen, in that card and account pay manager that I had mentioned, you can actually go next to that card and there's a drop down and you can make it inactive. So that way you're not losing that purchase history as well.
Correct, because one of the great things about the website and the Pro program, you know, we talk a lot about the discounts, we talk a lot about the incentives, the great programs we have and the rebates, but look, the administration that you have, the availability of tools inside that Pro account are amazing. You can keep up with past purchases, you can build lists, you can export to QuickBooks, and we're going to do an upcoming webinar on all of those kinds of tools as well. We just didn't want this particular session to run too long. So certainly we're going to follow up with that. But it's an amazing program just to be on the website and to see all of the tools that are available. And part of what Randall has in her overview here describes those things, and you will be getting this presentation as well as Kevin's from this call. If you are interested in some of the other programs, someone asked about the appliance program. That is not through the store right now. That is an actually out of store program that's linked to National REIA. You'll need to talk to your local REIA about that, or you can contact us here at National and we can tell you more about that. I'm trying to make sure that we answered all the questions about that. If you have any questions about the Home Depot program, please do not hesitate to reach out to your local group or to us here at National, and then we can send you on to others if we need to do so, but we can handle most of those questions here. So Charles, you were going to wrap up with some other questions that we have.
Actually, I was going to do more of a wrap up and just
Okay.
a little bit of perspective for everyone for a moment. I'm sure we've all been hearing the news, hearing the COVID-19 updates and such. But as local leaders and stakeholders and business leaders, I want you to hold on for a minute and I want to give you a short analogy just to think about. First time you're on a roller coaster and you're going up, and about the time the roller coaster goes above the trees and you start to feel that tension and thinking, what am I into? And that's kind of where a lot of the country is right now. The peak for this is not coming till somewhere around April 20th to somewhere into May. So we're in this and we're still seeing that crest coming, and we don't know what's going to happen on the other side. We know there's going to be a drop. We're not sure how bad it's going to be. But my point to everyone is hang in there on this. As leaders, this is the time to be calm, look at what your numbers are, pay attention to the details, and move to being the human transactions, even as we talked about last time we met. This is the time to really build your relationships. This is a relationship business. Your properties without people in them aren't very valuable. Your contractors, you've got to have people and relationships there. Focus on that, build those relationships, be safe, and you're going to get through this, and we'll get through it together.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Charles and Kevin. Appreciate you guys giving everybody information on the updates for small business loans and other things that apply to this crisis for the COVID-19 crisis. Also thank our friends and partners, Brian and Randall from Home Depot, for giving some information there. And of course, our host, Rebecca, thank you for putting all of this together today. We will be doing another call next Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And as Rebecca had outlined, you can always keep track of the National REIA website for COVID-19 updates until that time. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see everyone back here next Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone.